All right, here we are live at the Connections Experiment, the Family Connections Experiment. We'll go with the full name there. I'm Olivia, and we have a special guest today that I am really excited to introduce to you because I've had the opportunity to talk to him a few times, and he has so much great stuff to share. And so let's not waste any time and bring him on. His name is Dan Debenham, and he is the host of Relative Race, but he has a great history with lots of different shows on TV, and you are just going to love getting to know him if you don't already know who he is. So, Dan, I'm bringing you on now. So welcome.
Howdy, howdy.
How are you doing today? How's the rain?
I'm a drowned rat. For those of you who are joining us outside of northern Utah, where our production company is based, we are literally seeing torrential rain, which we need, as anybody knows, because the entire West is in a almost state of emergency in many places because we need the rain. So we got it today. Let's put it that way. So I just came in from grabbing a little lunch. And I still have spots everywhere. So I look like a drowned rat, but I'm great.
Makes it real good. Well, we're so excited that you took some time to come and spend some time with us. We love hearing from you. You're a favorite for all of us in the family history world, but for those people who are just kind of learning how to connect with their families, I would love for you to tell them a little bit about Relative Race and what the show is about, what the purpose of it is, the overarching goal, and just kind of some basics so that they can know why they should absolutely watch it.
Yeah, let me see if I can do that quickly. About 7 years ago, BYU TV, in conjunction with Ancestry.com, asked for a meeting here at our production offices. I'm co-owner of LensWorks Productions, which created Relative Race and produces it. And they came to us and said, you've got a good reputation for creating original television programming. Could you come up with a concept that might showcase how you could find family using DNA? We came back a couple of weeks later and we said, we have this idea for a show called The Relative Race. And they immediately said, can we cut out the word the? I was like, sure. Well, they said it's better for social media. Now, and since I'm old and an idiot, I was like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So we cut out the word the, and thus Relative Race was born. And what Relative Race is we take 4 teams each season. Those teams consist of 2 people each. Originally, it was married couples. Now it's everything from adopted siblings to mothers, fathers, best friends. It really varies now. We take
great groups. And I'm sorry to interrupt, but I love that mix because every duo has a different dynamic and you cheer for them for different reasons and you get really invested as a viewer because of those different relationships, and you can relate to, oh, my sister, if we were doing this together, so I think that's such a cool dynamic that you guys bring into it.
Thank you. Well, those 4 teams, we fly out somewhere to start the 10-day race somewhere around the country, and season 8 is going to air. Yeah, season 8 is going to air this fall, and then we are getting ready to film season 9, which will air next spring. And so those 4 teams, we fly them out to some location around the United States. Season 1, for instance, started in San Francisco. Season 2 started in, I think, New York City. Season 3 was in Washington, D.C., et cetera, et cetera. We take away all their technology, all smart technology, their phones, iPads, any GPS item that they may have, and we give them old-fashioned flip phones with no GPS and paper maps. We give them identical cars, and we text them with clues and how they need to, in essence, race to a different city each day. Then they have to overcome a challenge that we have created and hauled out and set up in that city, kind of like Amazing Race or Survivor. Yeah. Once they overcome that challenge, then they are given the address to someplace in the city that they have to go. When they arrive at that address, their clock stops because they're being timed from the first moment in the morning when I text them with their first text until they arrive at that door. Mm-hmm. Once they arrive at the door, their clock stops, and they know that, and that's by design. We want to forget about the race and now realize that When they knock on that door, the other person on the other side is a relative. They don't know how they're related. And in a married couple, they don't know if it's me or my spouse, but they just know that they're related. They knock on the door opens up, and they immediately say, "Are you my relative?" The person on the other side says, "I am." And they immediately, then the next question is, how are we related? And the answer, which we've taken sometimes up to 9 months to find and put in place, is this moment of every episode of the show. This moment when they say, how are we related? Typically, that person starts crying and says, well, Olivia, I'm your brother, or I'm your sister, or I'm your mother, or I'm your father.
And that's the moment, people. That's what you're watching for. It is so powerful and so much fun to watch. Keep going.
And then, unfortunately, we get all the team, not unfortunately for this reason, but we get all the teams together in a live Zoom video conference call every night of the race. We discuss how the day went, who they met. They introduce who they met because it's a live Zoom meeting. So they show the audience and the other teams who they met: mother, father, uncle, aunt, brother, sister. And somebody, I as the host of the show, I then say, well, unfortunately, now is the time to find out who finished in first and who receives a strike. The person that takes the most amount of time to find their relative each day receives a strike. 3 strikes, and they're out of the 10-day race. But if they make it to day 10 and then finish in first place on day 10, they also win $50,000. So thus, the name of the show, Relative Race. They are racing across the country to find relatives and the chance to win $50,000.
So I'm just really curious. Did you have any idea it was going to be so successful when you pitched it? Like,
no.
Have you been pretty shocked by that?
Here's a great true story. So they had come to us again and said, hey, can you come up with some ideas for us? 2 weeks later, we're back meeting, and we present this idea called, well, not the Relative Race. And we presented Relative Race to them. And when they said, look, we really like this, let's move forward. As soon as they left our building, my business partner turned to me and he said, hey, that was great, Dan. How in the world are we ever going to produce this? So it's been a labor of love in 35, 36 years of hosting or writing or directing or producing probably around, 2,000 different television productions. This is by far the most difficult that I've ever been involved with, and by far the most satisfying. I've never been so professionally and personally attached to anything that is so gratifying as this show. When you literally find somebody that the person that, meaning our team members, that they've been waiting their entire lives to find anybody that they're related to biologically. Yeah. And then that moment that we capture on film, and we don't take any retakes. It's not like we say, hey, could you run up to the door and cry a little bit more? It's like, no, what happens, happens. Those moments are so real, so powerful, so poignant, and so meaningful that you can't help but be touched by this. Right?
No, it's true. My husband, I told you this when I first met you, but my husband does not like family history. I've been working in the space forever, and Relative Race is what hooked him. It was the hook. So it's been a hook for a lot of people, and I'm so grateful. I was just looking at the comments of people who are coming on, love the show. And I'm going to say her name wrong. Deshay, is it Deshay from Team Green? She's on here and she's saying, hey, and
I was just talking about Deshay. I wish I could see her. I was just talking about Deshay literally yesterday. We were in a meeting, and I was talking about how I thought Deshay might have been one of our best overall people that we've had on the show. And here's the reason why. Yeah. Loved her story, which she was so invested in.
Yes.
Loved her Southern twang.
Yes.
Loved her competitive spirit. I mean, she was out to win that show while understanding that her main reason for being on the show was not the money. The main reason was to find family. but her preparedness, her gumption, her determination. I was literally in a meeting, an internal meeting here at our offices yesterday, and I was talking about Deshay.
How great she is. Well, thank you for joining us, Deshay. She says, hey, she said, so grateful for the show. I'll pop it up so you can see it. Talk to me every single day. She gets to talk to them. Oh my gosh, that just made me feel so happy inside. Like, because you got to watch her. I feel like she's part of my family because I watched her experience that with her family. And that's such a powerful experience. We have so many questions because people are kind of popping them up. But really what we want to get to is the root of it. How do you guys find the family? What is the process? And how many people do you have involved in that?
So the first process is casting, and we do that in two different ways. We have an organic site that anybody can go to, and that's literally relativeracecasting.com. And if you have a story to tell and are looking for family, we encourage anybody to go to that site and submit. And it's very self-explanatory. You have to create a video, has to be under 2 minutes, explain who you are, what your story is, and why you want to be on the show. That's one way that we capture potential teams that are going to be on the show. The other is that we hire a professional casting agency out of Los Angeles that goes out and searches for people as well. And they do that through a variety of ways. Going on.
I was wondered, so that makes sense.
Chat rooms and agencies and everything else. And from that, we usually get a pool that we start with. We usually get around 1,000 submissions.
Oh, wow.
And then we quickly pare it down to about 50. I mean, real quickly, we're able to go, because hundreds and hundreds of those submissions, and we love them, is that they'll say, hey, I want to be on your show because I'd be really good at navigating without a map, and I'd really like to see my grandma again. And you're like, oh, okay, that's not really our show, but thank you for your submission. You're probably not going to be on the show.
Yeah.
Well, we get it down to about 50, and then we assign that to our professional genealogy team. And within first thing that we do is they have to submit DNA. From the DNA, then we assign it to our genealogist team. They then, within about a week, can tell us if they feel that there's a good chance that we're going to find family, or within in about a week, they may say, look, this isn't going to happen. I've just hit walls everywhere, and I'm sorry, but this is not going to be one of our teams. So that quickly gets pared down to usually about 20 teams.
Okay.
Those 20, then we sit down with the network and we together decide who are our top 4 picks, who are our backup 4 picks, who are our backup 4 picks to them, and who are our backup 4 picks.
Wow.
So we go 4 teams back, and we do all the genealogy on all those teams. And then we start sending out contracts to all the relatives that we found saying, first of all, we contact them. And that then starts taking care of about 20%. About 20% say, there's no way on earth that I'll ever be on a television show. Of those 20%, we then send links to the show if they haven't seen it. And of those 20%, about 15 after watching the show say, yes, I'll be on the show. So we get about 90% of everybody that we want to be on the show, but we can't always find everybody, even after we go into a deep dive. And that starts paring it down from roughly 20 teams to where we basically get to 12 teams pretty quick. And then with our challenges of COVID the last year and a half, of which we've now filmed 3 seasons during that period of time, we're going to have more challenges. And we generally stay with those 12 teams. And of those 12 teams, we're able to find 4 that will be on the show and fit our purposes, which is a great story, finding the family, and what I like to say, which Deshay had in spades, which I say is televisionality. It's personality that is great on television. And one more reason why I love Deshay.
Deshay, you're great. We have a question. So how many genealogists work on that research? And do you know how, what kind of work goes into that?
Here, we used to have 8, and we now have one lead genealogist that is so unbelievably brilliant. And you see her name on every show. Tristan is, without Tristan, we wouldn't have a show.
Really?
Tristan is amazing. And then she uses a couple of assistants.
Okay.
So we're able to refine this process to where Tristan oversees everything.
So we really have her to thank for all those really powerful moments.
Oh, she's amazing. She has all these accreditations and certifications, but really far beyond that, Tristan has an ability to connect with people and tell them how powerful this show is if they will come and be a part of it. And from there, they hand them off to us, and our producers and associate producers and production assistants contact them to make sure that it's going to work, that the time when we need to be at their home to introduce them to their relative, that they're going to be there. They sign a contract. It's a process that takes about 9 months in advance before we go out and start filming. Okay.
So that there you have it. From like, wow, that's an incredible process. It's fun to hear the backside of things. I am curious. Have you ever done your own DNA test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have. And now my father, who's very proud of our name, our family name, which is actually the correct pronunciation. You've said it correctly. In America, once everybody came to America, they changed the correct pronunciation and have adopted how we now pronounce my last name, which is Debenham. Okay. We're from a small village, which is northeast of England on the Devon River. And the name of the village is Debenham.
Oh, cool.
The Debenhams came from that village, migrated over to America. And so the correct pronunciation of my name is Debenham. I actually like it better, but we say Debenham. Yeah. And my father has, unfortunately, we lost my dad 2 years ago, but my dad has family trees going back generations. And it was so important to him that whenever you came into my mom and dad's home, that family tree was the first thing that you saw on the wall, was his family. And we have the Debenham crest, and the dad has authors that are Debenham authors and scientists and explorers that are Debenhams. And yes. So yeah, I've done my own research as well.
That's so cool. Good for you. Because I remember when I first met you, you said you didn't really like family history before this show.
I didn't really, and probably because my father wouldn't talk about my basketball games. He would talk about family history. I was like, Dad, okay.
Dad, basketball. I'm young.
Things change as you grow and get life experience and realize that basketball games aren't important and family is.
Yeah, no, it's definitely. And I love that you said that, because at the Family Connections Experiment, that's what we are all about. We're just trying to draw attention to the fact that, hey, there are benefits to these connections. There are such powerful benefits, and we just want to help the whole world discover and realize that. So I would love to just hear, do you have any personal experiences of like connecting? I mean, it can be even with someone that you like. What have been some of the powerful experiences in your life? And you can share some from the show too, because I know those are really powerful. But like, can you think of any from your own life where you've been like, you know what, that connection has meant so much to me for these reasons in my life?
Yeah. So if you're talking about my personal connections, I can tell you the importance of family. Yeah. And I may get emotional here. I'll try not to. But several seasons ago, the audience watched this episode, and they saw a very visceral reaction from me when I asked. Her name was Precious. If people remember Precious and Paris, they were Team Green. I think it was season 4. And Precious's birthday was one of the days that she was on the race. And that night, I asked her about that. We had the other teams text her and wish her a happy birthday, and we had a birthday cake at her relative's house with presents for her. And I asked her during this live Zoom meeting at the end of the episode, how was your day, Precious, your birthday? And she told us how great her day was. And then I said, it sounds like a good day. And she said, Dan, it was the best day ever. Well, when she said that, I backed up. This is live to tape. And I got really emotional. And apparently viewers noticed it immediately and started on different chat rooms and everything. What happened to Dan? Why did he react that way? The reason why is because 6 years ago, just exactly 10 days ago from today, 6 years ago, we lost my oldest son in an accident. My oldest son was 26, and he was a trainer, a sales trainer for a company that had a variety of locations around the Western United States, and he was their #1 trainer. Mm-hmm. And as he would go into these various offices and train sales teams, he would start by coming in every day and saying, "Hey, everybody, what day is it?" And they all knew after a while that the answer was, "It's the best day ever." Mm-hmm. And so on my son's headstone, we have, "It's the best day ever." And so I got very emotional when, as I'm getting emotional right now. And so my point in how to tie that to family is I had never had a crisis like that in my life. I had a crisis of faith. I had a crisis of family. I had a crisis of purpose. I had a crisis. I just didn't want to be here anymore. Right. And my family, had it not been for the closeness of my family, my siblings and my parents especially, but my siblings and my parents, and if we had not been close, my own family, wife and children, I simply don't know how I could have survived that. And I mean that, it's not being dramatic. I mean that. Literally. I did not want to be here. And without my family, I would not have survived. And so I thought family was important prior to losing my son, but it's that. So you asked, that's the answer.
Yeah. The answer. No, thank you for being willing to be vulnerable. Like, that's really, oh, do you have a photo of him?
I keep many photos, but that's my son.
I am so sorry for your loss. That breaks my heart.
He was 26, and this was taken about 3 months before he died.
Before he passed away. I'm so sorry. But yeah, like what I love that you tapped into right there, though, is that we talk about like the psychological benefits of like, oh, it could help you with depression and things. But when the real hard things in life come, if you have that support system of family, there's just nothing that can replace the power that comes from that. And the love, I feel like I can't speak to it as well as you can. I actually lost a brother when I was 14. So it was a different relationship, but still just rips your guts out. And I remember distinctly at that point of my life becoming very much more aware of how important family was. And it does, it rocks your world and makes you way more just grateful for the ones that you do have that you can still hold close. So, oh, is this your kids?
So these are the remaining kids.
Oh, so you had 4 total? You have 4? Okay. Oh, yay. See, and I love that. I love that and see you for a day job get to connect people with family so that they can have that support system. Like, what a powerful and inspiring day job you have. So thank you. So I have kind of one other question. It can kind of be wrapped into many, but what would be your favorite, or maybe, sorry, I have so many that I want to ask, but we only have a few more minutes, so I don't want to, I'm trying to decide which way to go. But if there was one kind of takeaway message that you hope that everyone gets when they watch the show and hear from you when you do, because I know you speak a lot and you give addresses and things, like what would you say the overall takeaway is that you hope people come away from feeling, knowing, experiencing?
So it actually ties into the story that I just shared about my son. The takeaway is look at your family in a different manner. Oh, I love that. And that is how precious they are, and that and I get it, man. We all get into life, and man, you are pissed off with your spouse, or you're pissed off at your kids. Excuse my language, but
we get there. We all can relate.
Real, and you're frustrated, and it's just, why does so and so do this, and why do they have to pick their toes when they're watching TV or whatever? And at the end of the day, the message that I have is, cherish the fact that they pick the toes and they're with you. Yeah. Cherish the fact that they come in sopping wet from a rainstorm and the rain goes all over your hardwood floors, but they're there to drop the rain on your floors. They're there.
Right.
So my message is just cherish your family in a way, hopefully, that you haven't in the past, or reconnect in a way that maybe you've been afraid to do, because it's worth it. It's worth it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. And one of the things that we do focus on is that family history isn't just about deceased family. It's about the living and connecting with the living, but you can also draw those same kind of strengths from your deceased family as you get to know them. And so next month, we are actually doing a 21-day plan of DNA. So we're hoping that some of the people who use our site are going to have some of these cool experiences that you're providing for people regularly on the show. And hopefully they'll have some of those same experiences where they can tap into and connect with their family and be able to appreciate them in the way that you're able to. So thank you for the inspiration of the show. Thank you for your thoughts. Is there anything that, in closing, or anything that I didn't ask that you're like, oh, I definitely want to share that, or anything that I've left you on that way?
Do you have anybody asking questions right now still on your?
Yeah. Do you have a few minutes to take a couple?
So okay. I've got probably 5 more minutes. So.
Oh, okay. Perfect. We can do that then. I didn't want to keep you too long. So let's see. How has the power of connections with relatives benefited you personally? That one we kind of answered. Yeah. But how many people comment that they feel inspired when they see the show? What do you think it is about family history that makes people feel this way?
So the biggest family history genealogy conference in the world happens to be in our backyard, and it's called Roots Tech. And we have a booth at Roots Tech. And I am stunned at how many people line up to go through that booth. And that is thousands throughout the course of the 3-day show. And I cannot tell you how often, as I sit and hug and hold and take pictures with and listen to conference goers, how often they tell me how inspired they are by the show, or how it's affected them or their family or others, and how they are just that, reaching out and reconnecting or growing family relationships because it inspired them to do so. That is the greatest compliment that our company, because it's not me, I'm just the face of the show, our company, Lensworks Productions, we come back and share that with all of us because we work hard. And it is all worth it when we hear that and see what happens. So
I love that. Okay, let's see. We have another one here. So do teams stay in touch with you after the show ends?
You know what? To be honest, the majority don't, but it's probably only 40% probably do. And in fact, I get emails regularly from some of those, like every month.
Oh, really?
And we've had past team members that have flown out, like on the very first season. The team that won needed that money to get pregnant, and they got pregnant. Yay. And they flew out to Salt Lake City and introduced us to the most beautiful daughter that they had. But we have people call all the time. This past summer, we had 3 prior contestants that flew out and came to our offices, or we were able to take them to lunch or dinner. We stay in touch. Yeah, it's probably not 60-40. It's probably 50-50.
50-50.
About 50. Now that
that's awesome. I love that.
The other way. It's probably 60% that we do stay in close touch with. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that. So sorry, there are more, so I'm kind of hurrying and skimming which ones we've kind of answered. Is there an episode or experience that stands out in your mind as being especially transformative for you or your family?
Well, I can't speak for my family, although my family are great fans of the show, which stuns me because my boys, my boys are 26 and 28, 26, 28. And then my daughter is my oldest and she's 33, 34. They love Roller Race. I love that. My favorite moment of Roller Race, my favorite moment that I've ever had on TV, I think it was season 5 under the St. Louis Arch when we find out that one of the teams does not have one of the teams does not have their driver's license. And we came up with the solution 2 days before the show aired.
Oh my
2
gosh.
days before the show aired. And that solution that happens on episode 1 of season 5 is by far my favorite moment, not only on this show, but my favorite moment ever on TV. I think that is.
Yeah, I guess we can't say.
If you're saying, well, what's the moment? Go to season 5 of Relative Race and watch episode 1, and you'll know.
So cool. Yes, tears, happiness. You're not expecting it in the first episode. You're not expecting something so awesome to happen. That's so cool. And that's one of my favorite things about Relative Race. You cry and you laugh in every episode. And any show that can do that is a win, right? So, hey, Dan, thank you from all of us for coming today, sharing your thoughts, sharing who you are, being vulnerable, being willing to share why family is important to you. Everyone that's coming on is just saying how much they love season 5, love Team Green. They're all just going and on, and they're coming from different channels, but they love you. They're thankful. They're grateful for you, for the whole team, everyone who puts it all together. But thank you for taking the time to come share these things with us. We hope to cross paths again in the future.
Yeah, let's do this again.
All
and
right.
Don't forget the new season 8 of Relative Race airs this fall. The network hasn't given us an air date, but typically it's like the last week of September or the first week in October.
Okay.
And we're getting ready to film season 9 that will air next spring. And I can tell you the stories on these, oh man, you're going to love them.
They just keep getting better. I don't know how you guys keep doing it, but every season.
By the way, the challenges are really good too.
Sweet. I met some of your challenge guys. They were awesome. So I'm excited. Well, thank you so much and have a fabulous day. And we won't take any more of your time, but thank you.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
I love it. And thank you to everybody that's watching and loves the show. And thank you for your love and interest in family and history and genealogy, and sincerely mean it. It's really humbling to know that we here at LensWorks and I as the host can be part of something that it's just simply the most amazing thing I've ever been involved with in 35 years of television. So
cool. I'll let it end with that. We'll say goodbye. Thank you, Dan.
Yeah.